Hey, what's going on everyone? Today we're going to be leveling the suspension on the Tiguan. So if you didn't catch the last video, it's been lowered on H&R Sport Springs. The front dropped about 1.5 inches. The rear is now sitting at about 1.75 inches. So we got a little bit of a difference causing the rear to sit lower than the front, and we're going to be fixing that today. So since this vehicle was lowered using just springs, we don't have the adjustability to fine-tune the suspension that coilovers would offer. So the easiest solution is going to just be using a spacer. So I picked these up at ECS Tuning, about 30 bucks for the pair, and we're gonna get those installed. Before we get started with the install, I did want to mention this video will only be covering the installation of the spacer. So if you'd like to see the steps involved up to this point, then click the link up above, which will take you to the full lowering spring install video. Aside from removing the wheel, there are only 3 bolts holding the control arm in place, and once these are removed, the spring can be dropped down and the new spacer can be placed on top. This is pretty straightforward. Just be sure to orient the spacer so it sits correctly against the spring alignment perch. From there, you simply need to reposition the spring and reinstall it all. I like to get the shock absorber attached first using a new 18mm bolt, and that will hold the control arm in place, which makes attaching the other 2 bolts a lot easier. Next, I move over to the 13mm sway bar link, which can be a challenge to get lined up at first, but with a little bit of trial and error, it'll eventually go through. The last bolt to get installed is the 18mm connecting the control arm to the back of the steering knuckle. After getting all the bolts installed and tightened down, a final torque was done to ensure they met my specific torque specs. If you happen to have the exact same model as me, the torque specs I used for this install can be found in the complete install video mentioned earlier. And it's super important here to check what your specific vehicle requires by referencing either your owner's or service manual. Also keep in mind that suspension bolts are typically one-time use, so it may be necessary to install all new hardware, which was the case for me. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. I really appreciate you taking time to watch it. I will be doing another video soon on a review of actually driving on the springs only. So be sure to hit subscribe. You'll be the first to know that came out. And if you missed this whole project, go ahead and click the link here. It'll take you to the full install video where I show each step of installing the springs. I'll see you in the next video.